Welcome to the Explainer. Every country has a foundational rulebook, an architectural blueprint that lays out exactly how it's supposed to work. Today, we're cracking open the blueprint for Portugal, its constitution. This one document sets up the government, defines what it can and can't do, and, most importantly, spells out the rights that belong to its people.
So in Portugal, they call their constitution the Lei Fundamental, which literally means the fundamental law. And that's exactly what it is, the ultimate rulebook. No other law can contradict it, no government action can go against it, and every single court has to uphold it. It's really the bedrock of their entire legal system.
So here's how we're going to break this down. We're going to start with the foundation, its core principles. Then we'll get into the rights it guarantees you, the people. After that, we'll see how it actually builds the government, look at the two-way street of rights and duties, and finally, check out how this whole thing protects itself. All right, let's dive in.
Okay, so first things first, every good blueprint has to start with a solid foundation, right? Well, the Constitution's opening articles do just that. They lay out the huge core ideas that define what the Portuguese Republic is all about.
Now, this one line from Article 2, wow, it packs a punch. It sets up two pillars that you just can't shake. First, rule of law. What's that? It just means the government isn't above the law. It has to follow the rules too. And then you've got popular sovereignty. That's the powerful idea that all power ultimately comes from the people, not the other way around. In just one sentence, it locks in the entire democratic structure of the nation.
So, if the first part is the foundation, you gotta ask, who is this whole thing built for? Well, this blueprint is all about its inhabitants, the citizens. A massive chunk of the Constitution isn't even about government. It's about defining your fundamental rights and freedoms, protections that can never, ever be taken away. Think of this first batch of rights as your personal shield. They build a wall around your private life. They guarantee the freedom to think what you want, say what you want, believe what you want, and hang out with whoever you want. These are the absolute cornerstones of a free society, all designed to keep the state out of your business.
And it doesn't stop there. The Constitution doesn't just let you get involved in politics. It guarantees your right to do it. You have the right to vote, to form political parties, to formally petition the government. All of these things make it clear that democracy is not a spectator sport. It wants you on the field.
The blueprint even follows you to work. The protections don't just apply to you as a citizen, but as a worker. It explicitly guarantees things like job security, the freedom to form a union, the power to bargain as a group, and the ultimate tool of leverage, the right to strike. It's all about making sure there's a fair balance of power in the economy.
Okay, so having all these rights written down is great, but how do you actually make sure the government plays by the rules? The next part of the blueprint answers that. It carefully lays out the structure of the state with one clear mission: to stop any one person or group from getting way too powerful. And here's the clever trick they use. It's this idea of separation and independence of powers. It's a classic democratic move. You split the power up so no one has all of it, but you also make the different branches need each other to get things done. It's a built-in system of checks and balances designed to stop tyranny before it can even get started. And this brings us to the four main pillars of power in Portugal. You've got the president, who is the head of state. You have the assembly, which is the parliament that makes the laws. You have the government, which actually carries out those laws. And you have the courts, which interpret them. The key thing here is none of them is the boss of the others. They're designed to work side by side, keeping each other in check. Now, this blueprint isn't just a list of don'ts for the government. It's also a list of do's, a set of promises. This is what you might call the social contract part. And it defines the two-way street of obligations between the state and you, the citizen. Healthcare is a perfect example of how this works. Look at how Article 64 is written. It doesn't just say, hey, you have a right to be healthy. No, it goes further. It assigns the state a clear duty, a responsibility to actually create a universal health service to make that right a reality. It's not just a nice idea. It's a job the state has to do. Okay, so you've got this amazing, incredibly important blueprint. How do you stop someone from just ignoring it? And on the other hand, how do you make sure a document from the 1970s is still useful today?
Well, the blueprint has its own guardian and its own update mechanism built right in.
It has two main defense mechanisms. First, there's constitutional review. That means the courts can look at a new law and say, nope, this breaks the fundamental rules, and strike it down. Second, there's constitutional revision, which allows the document to be updated, but, and this is crucial, they made that process really hard to do on purpose, to stop big changes based on shifting political moods.
And when I say hard, I mean really hard. For what's called an extraordinary revision, you need a massive 4/5 supermajority in the Assembly. That's 80%. You need almost everyone to agree, which stops people from tearing up the core principles of the blueprint just because it's politically convenient at the moment.
So, at the end of the day, you have this document from 1976, born out of a revolution for democracy that is still the living, breathing heart of a 21st century nation. It doesn't just tell the story of Portugal's past, it guides its present and secures its future. And that kind of leaves you thinking, right? When you look at the world we live in now, which one of these many rights, which one of these promises feels like the most vital one of all?